Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Quran Girls 10-minute Tajweed review. Getting ready for my exam and moving along, I want to mention to you the importance of learning Tajweed. One of the importance is to really be able to read the text of the Quran and not make mistakes that change the meaning. For example, there is a verse in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. That means it is only those who have knowledge among His slaves that fear Allah. If you change around a fatha and a dhamma here and there in the verse, it could read an entirely opposite meaning, entirely different and very, very incorrect meaning, which is it is only those who have knowledge among His slaves that are feared by Allah. So you can see how changing something very small in the Quran, in the fatha, dhamma, in making other mistakes can make those errors. If you look at another example, the word yakfuru means one who did kufr, and yakfuru, where you're pulling with a mad, shows that there's more than one person who did kufr. So in that sense, it's very, very important for us to know the tajweed so that we're able to pronounce things correctly, so we're able to get the proper message of Quran across. Very important when we're doing hifz and very important when we're reciting as well. Alright, so moving along, we spoke yesterday about makharij, which is the places of articulation, the 5 different ones. Huroof Al Jawf, which is the mouth, Huroof Al Halq, which is the throat, Huroof Al Lisan, which is the tongue, Huroof Al Shafatan, which come from the lips, and Huroof Al Khayshoom, which comes from the nasal cavity. I'd like to start with the easiest first and kind of maybe jump around those, and that way we can get through the easiest and put those aside. So starting with Huroof Al Khayshoom, those are Noon, hopefully you can see this, and Meme. Alright? I'm not so sure you can see that, but it's Meme and Noon. Alright? I'm still new at this YouTubing. Going to have maybe probably a little technical difficulties at the beginning so that we can max out on it inshallah as we go along. But Meme and Noon. And these are in the slides as well. The same ones that I mentioned in my last, in my first video, which is the ones that I found on SlideShare on Tajweed. And that's by Rana Sadi. And so that's on page number 6 of 40, which it talks about the different places of articulation. Right? So, Meme and Noon are Khayshoom. That means they come from the nose. You cannot pronounce them with a blocked nose. You have to say Meme and Noon. The way to tell where a letter comes from is always put an alif before it with the letter after it with a sukoon. So an or Now try saying that with your nose closed. Ad, ab. You can't do it. So you know that they're coming from the nose. They also, articulation point is also from the mouth. So it's the mouth and the nose. An and Now when these two letters have shaddas on them, they have a special characteristic called ghunna. Ghunna is a characteristic where it's like you're pronouncing two of the same letter. It's like you're pronouncing a noon with a sukoon and then a noon with a fatha. Or a meme with a sukoon and then a meme with a kasra, for example. The first one always being the sukoon and the second one being the one with the haraka. Haraka means fatha, dhamma, kasra. So that's when you have the sifat, a characteristic called ghunna. And when these two letters have that, when these two letters have the ghunna characteristic, meaning that they have a shadda on them, this is what a shadda looks like a little W on top. Oh boy, my marker's not working. But I know if you're doing this Tajweed review, you know what a shadda is. Alright. So if you have a shadda on a meme or a shadda on a noon, then you have the sifat of ghunna. And ghunna is the complete ghunna when it is on these two letters. These are the only two letters that have complete ghunna. That means you're going to pronounce them perfectly, you're going to pull them twice. قل أعوذ برب الناس عما يتساءلون. Right? So those have perfect غنّas, the mim and nun. And that's just one of their characteristics. Where do they come from? The Khayshoom, the nose, the nasal passage, and from the mouth. Right, we're done with those. That was pretty easy. Let's go to the ones from the mouth, right? They come from the mouth. There are 3, but those 3 only when they follow certain rules. Those 3 are, let's see if we can actually make this thing work. Let me write down here. I'm telling you this thing was working before I got started. That's okay. I will find another marker for tomorrow. The 3 are alif, waw, and ya, but not on their own. You have to have alif, waw, or ya. They must follow 2 rules, right? To have the articulation point that is from the jawf, from the mouth, right? The 2 rules that they must have are, they must all have a sukoon on them. And the second rule is, each of these letters has their baby. Ya has a baby called kasra. Waw has a baby called dhamma. And alif has a baby called fatha. Right, you guys already know this. So, if you have a fatha before the alif, a dhamma before the waw, and a kasra before the ya, on the letter before it, then, and on each of these letters there's a sukoon, so on the alif, waw, or ya there's a sukoon. That's when you have makharij al-jawf. That's when you are able to pronounce them as makharij al-jawf. For example, let's see, in the word qala, qala is, the alif is makharij al-jawf, qala. However, in iqra, that is not makharij al-jawf, right? Because both those alifs do not have sukoons. The first one has a kasra. In iqra, the last one has a hamza on it. So neither of them fulfill the rule. So you can tell from the way that you're pronouncing it. Qala. It sounds like a mad, right? Like you're pulling. All of these huroof al-jawf, alif, waw, and ya, when they follow these rules, then they have a mad sound. You pull it like you're pulling it twice. Qala, or mala, or maliki, right? Same with the waw and the ya. In the word nuhiha, you have both. You have the waw mad, nu, because it has a dhamma followed by the waw with the sukoon, and then you have he, nuhi, the ha with a kasra, with a ya with a sukoon on it. So those are examples of Huroof Al Jawf and Huroof Al Khayshoom, which we have done so far. The last one I want to do for today is Huroof Al Halq, and these are the letters of the throat. Now there's 3 different parts to the throat. There's the deepest part of the throat, all the way down here, right before your chest cavity begins, and that's called Aqsa, just like Masjid al-Aqsa, the farthest mosque, right? It's the farthest down, Aqsa, right? Aqsa al-Halq. Those 2 letters are Hamza and Ha. How do you pronounce them? Remember, to be able to tell where they come from, you put an alif before it and then a sukoon on the letter. So, or When I used to pronounce the I always thought it was coming from the chest initially, and my teacher had me practice and practice until I finally found it coming from the deepest part of my throat. So it's going to take you practice. You keep practicing, keep looking through the video if you need to be able to pronounce this correctly. Hamza and coming from the deepest part of the throat. Hamza and Ha, Aqsa al-Halq. Then there's the middle throat, Ain, A. there's a difference between the sound of the alif and the ayn. Ah. And this is a middle throat. This is middle throat. Or ah, 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 ha. So ayn and ha are the two that come from the middle throat. Ayn and ha. And what's the middle throat called? Wast al halq. Wast. The word wast in Arabic is middle, right? So wast al halq is ayn and ha. Ah, ah. Then there's the upper throat, which is adna al halq. Adna al halq. And those two letters are ghayn and kha. Agh, 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 akh, akh, akh. So there's lots of words when you're reciting the Quran now. If you focus on just these letters of the throat, which is Huroof Al Halq, Huroof Al Khayshoom, and what's the other one we did? Huroof Al Jawf. From the mouth, you should be able to practice these. Look over it if you need to. We're up with the 10 minutes, and inshallah I'll see you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum.